Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 48, where my opponent opened with e4 and I played the center counter defense. So let's check it out. e4, d5, also called the Scandinavian defense. Taking is the normal move here, and I play knight f6, which is the second most popular option after queen takes d5. But it's an interesting line if white plays c4 here, for example, to try and hold on to the pawn. You can play either d6 or c6. I usually play c6 myself, which turns it into a real gambit after he takes. You take back with the knight. You get excellent development, and it's a good gambit for black. So I'm happy to play that way. So the normal line is to refuse the gambit. You can play d4 when I'm white. That's usually what I do. Or you can play what my opponent played, knight c3. It looks like bishop b5 check is also a line here. But you just interpose your bishop, and that's pretty standard. So knight c3, and I take, and he takes back. I'm sorry, he did not take back. So the normal move here is bishop c4, just trying to take advantage of this knight here and harass it a little bit. The knight drops back to b6, and the bishop drops back to b3, and the game continues. It's okay. So he played knight f3, which is a bit unusual. I play bishop g4, just trying to pin that knight. And now he takes, and you can see taking here is not in the opening book at all, although we've sort of wandered into a little-known branch of opening theory here. So we're pretty much out of the book, and I'll switch to this. So h3, I guess, is the computer's recommendation here. d4 is also a very logical move. I think knight takes d5 is a bit inconsistent. Yeah, and it seems like computer thinks black is nearly equalized at this point. But I make some mistakes later and let him back into the game. So let's watch this for a bit with the Houdini on here. So I'm making what I think are normal developing moves. My idea with getting the bishop out was I thought I was going to have to play this move e6 anyway, although I was imagining the knight was going to be there still. And I wanted to get the bishop outside the pawn chain before playing it. And I had time in this position, so still okay here. Bishop c5 is a mistake. So what's the computer like here? Knight c6. The only thing with knight c6 is you might want to play c5 first and get some little more presence in the center before playing knight c6. And you see c5 is one of the options, and bishop e7, which is another move I was considering. But bishop c5 has some flaws in it. It's a little bit of a target, and you'll see it more later. So he plays d4 first, and I guess now I should go back to bishop e7, although that would be admitting defeat since I could have gone to bishop e7 in one move. So I go back to bishop b6, and now here's where white can get an advantage by playing c4 or h3 first, kicking the bishop, and then it'll get followed up by c4. And what's funny is it doesn't actually win material, but it just it's strong enough to just push my pieces around. And it's the kind of move you might play on general principle without even calculating variations. You're just with c4. You notice, first of all, that your pawns are all well supported here, so that I can't take any of them. You're kicking my queen around, so you get a tempo, and you're getting a stronger central presence. So if we follow the computer's suggested line for a little bit, c4, and then queen to d7. Queen to d7 is not all that great because of the move knight to e5 here, which forks the queen and the bishop. So I don't believe in queen to d7. The computer's still liking it. Queen d7, knight e5. Yeah, okay. It thought there was some trick, but now it sees that white is clearly better here. Yeah, so you don't want to play queen d7. What are your other ideas here, computer? Queen d8, queen f5. Yeah, I guess let's say the queen goes all the way back to d8. So already you can say that white has a significant advantage just because of the space and the better development. I've had to move this bishop twice, and I've had to retreat my queen. So you can see this deployment of the bishop just was not a success. And it could be followed up with a move c5, kicking the bishop around some more. And then how about bringing the queen out, trying to trap the bishop? Queen a4 check. c6. I guess c6 defends the bishop. Then d5. Oh, d5 is an interesting move because the queen is attacking. Sorry, the queen is attacking the bishop. So anyway, you see white gets a good game, and I suppose if you follow this chain long enough, you'll find a point where he actually wins material, but you can just tell by looking at it that this looks like a pretty strong position. So instead of playing c4, my opponent played c3, which shores up his center, but not the best move in the position. So I castle, and I'm sort of out of trouble for a while. Although white retains more than the usual opening advantage, and should probably cash in by taking the bishop. He tries to interpose this move bishop to f3, and I have a bishop e4 here to block this. This was a good idea if it chased the bishop away, because then he could take my if he were to chase the queen away, then he could take my bishop and force me to take back with a pawn, thereby gaining the bishop pair and messing up my pawns, and that'd be good for white. But because of the order in which he played it, with the bishop coming here first, I was able to block with my own bishop, and he just trades off at this point, and the game is pretty much equal now. So continues on in this vein for a while. My queen is still getting kicked around, so maybe the way I played this was not so great. But this move, queen f3, was a mistake, and now I start to get back in the game, get some kind of advantage here. It thinks maybe... No, I guess that this was okay the way I played it. There were alternatives here. I could have tried exchanging... Ah, that's what it is. It thinks I should take the knight right away, and I give him an isolated queen's pawn, which I attack. And I delayed that move, so... but it all turns out it's still about even. And notice that this exchange here, where I let him double my pawns, but he has to give up his bishop to do it. The computer agrees with me that this is a good exchange for black. So these pawn weaknesses, you think we're heading towards the end game, and these might be a factor. But you also have to consider, who's got the better minor piece here. The rooks balance each other out pretty much, as long as their activity is comparable. You can have a better rook just by having a more active rook. But the minor pieces, this distinction is going to live with us for a long time. And the bishop here is maybe slightly better than the knight. So enough to compensate for these pawn weaknesses. So the game continues, and I think it's still probably drawish. And it was this move here, knight h2, which lets me infiltrate with my rook. That was a clear mistake, and now black has a pawn advantage, which may or may not be enough to win. Sometimes a pawn is still a draw with the rook endgame. And I don't play the most precise move right here. Thinks I should bring my rook up and defend the other rook. And I'll show you what I was worried about. I was worried about this knight move to here, forking the two rooks. But so let's check out this variation. If I play rook d to d2, because I did think about this during the game, and if he plays the knight here to try and fork these guys, I can play here check, and I saw this far, so the king has to move. And then I grab a rook, and he grabs a rook. And I didn't think I was getting all that much out of it, but the computer says I can play bishop g3 here, or rook e2 defending the bishops. Let's say bishop g3. And I guess I have a two-pawn advantage now. So I won the first pawn when the rook infiltrated, and I won the second pawn when I played bishop takes f7 checks. So this would be a much better way for me to play. I just didn't follow through deeply enough. I saw as far as the check here and the fork, and I was thinking it would be about even. I guess I didn't really fully account for the fact that I was winning a pawn there. But you want to make sure before losing all the minor pieces that you're into an endgame that you can win with the rook. That looked like I was pretty clearly winning. So instead I played rook takes b1 here. We were in this situation. So instead of rook d to d2, I played rook takes b1. He takes back, hitting my bishop. So I have to take his knight there. And then I start attacking his pawns. And I was thinking my more active rook and my extra pawn, I still am a pawn at 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, should be enough. But he can take this pawn now and get behind my other pawn and pretty much equalize, and that would be drawish. So this is kind of his last mistake here. He plays king f2 and lets me grab a pawn, and now when he grabs this one, it's too late because I can get this other pawn. He can't get back in time to defend it. So I maintain my advantage from here on out, and I gradually turn this into a win. And the mistake he's making here is his king really can't get too far away from this key square here. G2 or H2 is where the king needs to be to stop this pawn from becoming a queen. Now, the pawn is still 3 moves away from this square here, so he has time to get back there. So he really reaches the point of no return somewhere around here. Yeah, I think if you let the computer crunch on this for a while, it'll start, the score will start going up and up. Because now he's running short of time. He's got to head back to the square immediately. King d3, it says. Maybe he can try and head in this direction and stop the pawn that way. So this move here, king f4, he's now too far away after I play the move a2, and he can't get back. So the trick here is if the king is on this square or this square, then the rook can come over and check the king, and the king can just take it, and the pawn can become a queen, and the rook can take the pawn. So that doesn't work. If the king is, let's erase these guys, if the king is on this square or any of these squares, what you can do, maybe not that one, what you can do is play the rook here, and after rook takes pawn, you play the rook up check, skewering the king, which is here, and it can't get close enough to defend the rook, so the king moves and you can grab the rook. So you win that way. So that's why these squares are not good. So the squares the king can be on, it needs to be on one of these 2 squares or over here where it's close enough to the pawn to stop that trick from working. So anyway, that's your little endgame lesson for this this video. The king is just too far away and the game is losing, so he plays on a few moves, but this is basically hopeless. Oops, let's just go ahead and play through the rest of the games, rest of the moves. So it was here. Yeah, this is the trick to win when you have a pawn and your rook is in front of it. You move the rook with check, and then you promote the pawn, and then you end up winning the rook. And after your rook up, it's an easy win. It doesn't matter if he grabs all these pawns because you don't need it to checkmate the king. And that was the end of the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.